let's continue our discussion on embedded finance, embedded insurance, with a focus on embedded health, with Sabine and Sebastien here in our Zurich, Swiss Re studio. Sebastien, you just mentioned about the necessity to create new services, adapt the insurance product to the health ecosystem that you are part on, and not necessarily sell existing product. It will not necessarily work according to the expense that we have. Something that you also mentioned that was leveraging data, such as lifestyle data, to create meaningful engagement, but also better understand the risk, especially around prevention and mitigation of the health risk that really resonate with me, and I'm sure with my Swiss Re colleague. We've been working quite a lot in the last few years on bringing into our life guide, which is the kind of Bible of underwriting, which is the risk assessment for health. And we actually brought 6 categories of lifestyle data into life guide. That's enable life and health insurer now to basically translate into pricing, underwriting insight, this data that they're starting to have access through their ecosystem partner or through the digital interaction that they now have at scale with their customer. So what we've built really enable as well the life and health insurer to get the value, to scale quickly, and to also bring back all of this data inside into the existing underwriting pricing models that they really find valuable as a way to scale. What is also interesting to see is that there is an adjustment according to the market that you are in. Not all the data is similar. You need to adapt to the population health need and the population health status. So starting with you, Sabine, looking to these market differences across the world, Asia, China in particular, such a big market for insurance, Europe, America, when you are advising VCs, health tech, Insurtech on the key maybe KPI to work on for the investors, is there any differences in what investors will look at to assess the potential scale of this business?
So I guess, Yannick, each market are slightly different because the consumer himself is different. But I think when you look at the way investors think, it's all about market size and monetization, actually.
Yeah.
So first, health tech in general is one of the largest market, or digital health, when we actually bundle it with insurance, is one of the largest. Some of the recent studies share that it's a $175 billion size dollar market in 2019. It will grow by 25% year on year until 2025, and this is around 460 billion, so it's sizable. Now, when you actually roll back and look at it from a health tech viewpoint, so investment viewpoint, there is already 100,000 startups doing something, and 20,000 have raised money. And that represents 265 billion of investment raised.
Okay.
Again, another market which is going to do well in 2022 and the years ahead, because we all need health. And when you start looking then at the macro services that investors are investing in, it will be internet-first business models.
Okay.
They will be looking at consultation, telehealth,
Yeah.
as Sebastien mentioned. They will be looking at fitness, wellness. Think about Peloton and your Fitbits. They will also be looking at behavioral and emotional health. So those are the big buckets we see out there. And then as I said, it's all about monetization. So then they will look at the business model.
Yeah.
And what you find in the business model is it a pure play, as I said, internet first or digital first, pure play, I call them. Are they more infrastructure based? Healthcare as a service,
yes.
So providing the widgets underneath to create the platform, or are they building digital ecosystem? And that is hot right now, the digital ecosystem angle. But when you think at Bandit Health started, it was all about sales and distribution, and a lot of people pushed back when we started talking about embedded health, because or embedded insurance full stop, because they thought it was just putting a new lipstick on the pig of insurance. Now, when you look at market, I would say 50% of the development is in the United States. I was very surprised to see that 30% is in Europe and the rest 20% is in Asia.
Okay, interesting. Sebastien, on your perspective, so regularly entrepreneurs like you need to raise money. You also were quite successful to expand your business in China, but now scaling worldwide. So what are maybe the main the main indicators that you are very careful to work on to show to your investors success and potential to scale? But I'm also interested to know, with the services that the CareVoice provide, what did you have to adapt after your Asian experience to basically be engaged better and be more accepted globally in all the markets?
Yeah, it's a big question, and it's crossing many dimensions. I would say if we come back on the experience and the start in China, and we started there because I was in a big pharma role there,
okay.
and the driver for decision was looking at China market as very strong consumerization happening across industries, so it could prevail in healthcare too, but also the speed of adoption of any disruption and the market around it. While then really experiencing and putting aside the challenge of setting up a business in China, especially as a foreigner, what was very interesting there was the ecosystem approaches everywhere, right? Like the concept of integrating various services and how when you have a customers, it's a strong value, right? So how do you expand that value around that customers? How do you help better to fulfill those needs? And then the second dimension was insurers. Insurer was moving much faster than we've seen in any part of the world because they were pushed by the market, right? Yeah. Like obviously on the consumer side, but also on the business side. So insurers have to very quickly in China grow, and there were players like Ping An or Zhong'an that have been really a leading example of how to bring at scale really new models around ecosystem, around bringing service-oriented approach across the line of insurance, right? But true in health. So I think that was good to be in that environment to grow the business. Then, of course, it was how we are able back then from an investor angle to still penetrate as an international team, right? So the good thing is that in that early days of the health insurance, actually in China 5 years ago, was just restarting the privatization of healthcare. Yeah. So we were bringing a true unfair advantage of knowing what was private healthcare, how it was working. Most of the players back then were international insurers working with local insurers, or reinsurers helping the local insurers because they didn't have all the data background to be able to price and bring those products to the market. So we were relevant to work with those players. But quickly we adapted also to the reality of the market, because it's a market where it's really building a market from scratch in China around insurance. So the value was more around how to help insurance to grow, and we set up actually our own MGA, so our own consumer-facing brand working with insurers, and that was a good way to capture the growth opportunity and support insurers and show the role model of how, through more population-specific insurance, startup for health insurance for startups, health insurance for sport enthusiasts, and so on, it could work. And then our tech has been, supporting that business that actually we spin-offed, and then gradually being able to work with international insurers across other markets.
Yes.
So that was now for the past 2 years really the big focus of the company and the teams. So the good thing is that if you look at first the one capabilities around integration of third-party health tech, right, creating this ecosystem. Actually, many health tech, and then you look at all these investments, you have a number of health tech that start to stand out, they have really their ownership on some specific verticals, but they have hard time to break into insurance. Working with insurers is super hard, right? So we can naturally bring them in our ecosystem, and actually they can operate across many markets. So it's already a value. You are either in Southeast Asia, in Latin America, in Europe. There are some health tech that are interesting to bring into a customer journey. So that's the first thing that you can bring the layer. Then, of course, you have we discussed briefly about the data security and privacy, but each market has its own regulation. We just launching now with MetLife their 360 Health value proposition in Middle East. 5 countries. Each countries have some differences in terms of which data you can collect. And so you need to have this proper understanding to support and actually guide the insurance, also work with them with the compliance, with the legal. And
we are working here in a combination of knowing the regulation from insurance and financial services, but also sometimes digital tech, health, which is another regulation perspective. So it could be really complex here to go to the depth of what data can you use for what meaning in this complexity across all these jurisdictions? Do you have a dedicated team actually looking?
So
looking
we I think again, by working now with a number of insurers and across a number of markets, we've accumulated the experience, but we had to learn the hard way, right? You have to do a lot of your homework. We also work with some external advisors, including some law firms specialized in regulation. But I would say ultimately you're going to have similar frameworks across the world, and then you just need to understand the nuance and what you can do, what you cannot do. Also understand where the insurance wants to play. Some insurers are still looking at embedded health to bring extra value to customers, but not necessarily yet, or are more reluctant to look at, okay, what kind of data, or can I connect the data at the individual level and take this as an advantage? So it's where I think reinsurer and players like Swiss Re can play the role of data controller and put this out from the insurance, who may be a bit more reluctant to take it, but then meaning that you can extract the value for more the risk profiling and the underwriting part. So that's an interesting also role for reinsurer, and that you apply it across the globe, right?
Exactly.
No
in my role, actually,
here.
in the last 6 years, my team have actually derived customer and risk insight from all of this data that insurers have access to, starting from the existing data that seen as core insurance data, and leveraging techniques such as natural language processing, optical character recognition, machine learning, to basically enrich the catalog of data at the disposition of the decision-making process at the time of underwriting for claims decision, or pricing decision as well, that have been quite powerful. This was quite new a few years ago, but now really starting to scale. And why I was really curious about the regulation point of view is because I've been actually myself managing a project for Swiss Re in Singapore, where we work very closely with the regulator to define the approach for responsible use of data and artificial intelligence model within the holistic decision process, where a consortium of 20 plus tech, financial services, and reinsurer like us work together to document methodology and to apply it to existing use case, such as underwriting. And this was quite well received by both the AI community, but also the insurers.
But regulators are really promoting an increased use of data from the insurance, because this can drive efficiency. Right?
Exactly. So drive efficiency, better risk knowledge, which is really important to manage your loss ratio and your portfolio. That's where we deployed all of this technology with our know-how from the underwriters, from the actuaries, to really bring risk management to the next level. Something that we also do is, of course, bring all this into solution. So package platform that's enable the insurer to quickly deploy it. So one that comes to mind is, for example, Magnum, which is our automated underwriting engine that now have basically a lot of artificial intelligence embedded at the time of underwriting that could help the insurer to fast track the risk assessment. So have a better customer engagement, quicker journey, while better understanding the risk you're on board. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, the next step is to be ongoingly collecting this data with the health
ongoing
engagement,
underwriting,
and then improving.
Dynamic, and that's right.
So
we are talking about embedded finance, embedded insurance, embedded health. Now it's embedded intelligence. So getting all the data to actually communicate with each other, to actually start yielding the right outcome for the consumer who is receiving the service. And I think what it allows us to do is taking friction out of the engagement and the customer journey. So each journey becoming individual, right? Very personalized, and data. And I would say processes, you know what I mean? Like the technology which deliver this automation allows you to do that.
And this, of course, in full consent, responsible way, no discrimination. That's the topic that are now really rising at the eyes of the regulators and our industry.
Yeah, and as an ecosystem player, orchestrator, or as a reinsurer, we have a kind of duty to guide insurance or help insurers in that front. Because if you are head of compliance, head of legal in any of these insurers, you know, of course you want to support the business, but these are new areas, right? So how to guide further. And we were discussing, you know, earlier on about scalability, and this is interesting to see now those, you know, I would say leading visionary insurers who are really now driving this across number of markets.
Yes.
Because they see that's the only way that you need to help the smaller markets, or because this is new. So you need to have the I would say an overall architecture, an overall approach, so that and you adapt to each market. And back to the health tech, you need also to have local service providers. You need to be able to bring, but ultimately the way to do it should be similar, and you should take the best practices, both in terms of engaging end user, but also in terms of data management. So that's critical.
Well, fascinating discussion. It's already time to conclude with you, Sabine and Sebastien. I've really enjoyed the discussion, and I remember now about embedded intelligence. I really like this word, which really depicts what my team and many colleagues across Swiss Re are doing with data into this new embedded insurance opportunity. One of my key message here as well that I will remember is that it's now the time for insurers to really transform themselves into data-driven, AI-enabled insurer, and this is true across all the value chain of insurance. When looking into embedded insurance opportunity in particular, my understanding is that it will not always work to just push your existing product. So that's really important to understand first the customer needs within this embedded journey and to adapt your services accordingly, to take the data and transform this into customer and risk insight, of course, with the help of Swiss Re model. And also important mindset change is that insurers should not see the customer as their customer like they used in the past, but as a customer of the whole holistic health ecosystem that they are part of. And this required quite a change in the mindset, in the culture of the organization, but also in the way you manage data close to real time. So looking a bit forward to conclude, what do you think are the maybe the focus that Insurtech, health tech, insurer needs to have to succeed and scale in this and get most value from this opportunity?
Yes. So Yannick, you already mentioned quite a few points. It's really about focusing on the consumer, the user, and taking the friction out of the engagement. It's not just about the data, but it's about the data and the analytics to actually put together, like Lego blocks, experiences which are really unique for that customer. I love numbers, I think numbers help us actually see where the opportunity is. Today, according to value survey from the Big Four, 90% of the health buyers want a seamless experience, a digital experience. While they are not always prepared to give their data, because they don't always have the full trust, they are really looking for something which is seamless, that they can actually access from their mobile device when they need it. And then when you actually go to the next phase, 65% of those respondents would say, actually, they think big tech would be able to do it. 47% thinks that health tech will be able to do it. They only think that 40% of insurers will be able to do it. So maybe by combining the data, the analytics, and the unique customer engagement, insurers can answer the need of the customer of the future.
You're speaking to me now with my AI background, really like that. What about you, Sebastien?
I'll go just back to the fundamentals of insurance, right? It's about protection gap. And here you think about health protection. And that should drive insurers, fully embrace embedded health. Mental health now is, I think, across the world, 20% of prevalence, meaning like 20% of people experience some level of mental health issues. If you look at cardio disease, they are preventable. Yes. Meaning that if you change the health habits of the lifestyle of consumers, you can prevent that. So, and the numbers in terms of health insurance protection, are striking. Especially 60% come from emerging markets. And if you have more digitized, more affordable insurance offering, more meaningful to people, that's the big opportunity. And ultimately, today, insurance have one of the lowest NPS score, right? So if you look at that, the insurers have really a tremendous opportunity to change their place, their position in the eyes of the consumers, and really support and take advantage of this protection gap.
Fantastic. Well, on that, I really encourage all of you to read the report that we published in May, June, earlier this year, 2022, written by the CareVoice, Alchemy. Is it?
Alchemy crew.
Alchemy crew, okay.
The alchemists. We make things together.
And Sonar and with the 4 of our colleagues of Swiss Re providing their insight as well in this report. It's free and download online, so feel free to have a read, to go more in depth into this opportunity, but also the challenge that we covered around embedded insurance, embedded health in particular. It was lovely to have you, Sabine and Sebastien, in our studio today. And I'm really looking forward to invite you another year, and we can basically speak about how successful embedded health has been for our industry and for society at large, leveraging data, leveraging analytics to create this new customer experience, understanding the risk better, prevent this risk, and scale, and of course reduce the huge protection gap that is constantly increasing. So that's really the opportunity now to do something about it. Well, on that, I would like to thank the both of you and for your insight, and see you soon.
Thank you, Yannick.
Thank you, Yannick.
Thank you, Sabine.